So I'm currently a year in industry student on placement with Network Rail. I have various responsibilities that have been given to me, one of which is being in charge of the Renewals Work Bank. So what we do in there is when projects are discussed and planned, they get given to me, and my job is to basically align the planning systems. That's my main job, alongside different engineering analysis that I do at times, not often, but I can be given a piece of track, and then I have to look for data to support the various stresses that the track experiences. So it's a flexible role that I've been mainly involved in. I also attend meetings and all of that. So yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, if you want my role as a job title, it would be year in industry student at Network Rail. Civil engineering was actually not something I was always interested in, believe it or not, even though I love it right now. I really wanted to do mechanical engineering, but one or two things happened during my final year in sixth form, and it made me change course right before starting uni, actually. And it I actually kind of stumbled upon it by accident. Um, because interestingly, my dad was a contractor, so he was a civil engineer himself, a civil engineering contractor. But I never even that was never part of my thought process when I was even applying to courses and anything. Um, but once I dove into civil engineering, I realized how crucial it is, to our day-to-day living. Because everything that is built, whether it's a house, a road, a mall, whatever you may think of, it all stems down to civil engineering. Because without civil engineers, companies wouldn't have buildings. So it's like, to me, it may sound biased, but to me, it's the most crucial, engineering sector we have, because it's all about the built environment, which we all need. Whether it's infrastructure, homes, schools, hospitals, whatever we need, it's all from civil engineers. So yeah, it's a very interesting course. Very, very interesting. The school subjects that are very useful when it comes to civil engineering, I would say, would be definitely 100% mathematics and physics. The maths will help you when it comes to equations, especially if you do A level maths. I'm not sure whether there's in a college as well that they can offer that level of maths as well. But the maths that is done in civil engineering, it is can be very complex, can be quite expanded and long, because you need to carry through calculations in order to calculate other things. um, Physics, well, when it comes to engineering, physics is pretty much, something we all must be knowledgeable about. It won't perhaps be all the different parts of physics, like electrical fields, mechanical fields, a little bit of mechanical fields, but you get what I mean. It's not going to be everything related to physics, but one of the things you will use when it comes to physics will definitely be mechanics. Not in as much depth as mechanical engineering, but mechanics is something that civil engineering involves to a certain level. Um, so yeah, if I would say the subject that you must need, it will definitely be mathematics and physics. So my course is civil engineering. I do a BSc, Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering. There's also a BEng. The difference between the two is in the BEng, there's just the questions are worded in a slightly different way, which makes it a little bit harder, I would say. The BSc is just more theoretical. I think my course is pretty interesting. It's going well. I mean, you learn various things: structural analysis, highways, how they use engineering in highways. You also learn contract management and project management. So it's a very broad subject. Civil engineering. There's also something called geotechnics. For those who know what that means, it just means how ground moves. Geotechnics. but it's like it's so broad. You can go into various pathways with it. Yeah, so you can literally, if you study civil engineering, you can specialize at some point, which is something that I find really attractive about the course. So if I finish my course and I decide, you know what, I want to go into contract management, this all has to be with building contracts. Um, I can just divert into that. If I want to do project management, I can divert into that. If I'm really interested in bridge engineering, which you guys are going to do, I can also become a bridge specialist. Or if I want to do highways, I can go into the highway sector. So there's just many different um, career paths and specializations you can go into. And one of the things is you can also, because it's such a flexible degree, if I wanted to do finance after my engineering degree, I could just divert into finance because you get all these transferable skills when you do the course, which is going to be very helpful for everybody that wants to do the course. But yeah, if you ask me, I would 100% recommend, if you're somebody here, you're interested in physics and maths and you want to go into engineering, I would 100% recommend civil engineering for you as a degree to study. So the transferable skills I need for my job, one of them is 100% teamwork. Because when it comes to engineering, there's different engineers, there's different teams that do different things, and the project is not going to work if everybody doesn't do their bit. Yeah. So there's the track workers who actually do the physical work, putting the track into place, putting everything into place. But then there's also the management team, which makes sure everybody is safe, everybody's doing the job correctly, and also the job on time. So you get all these different departments coming together. Like me, for example, I can be part of team meetings in which different project managers have come to give updates about their project, and then they can ask me, for example, Kelvin, please, can you change this specific part of the project? For example, the date. Can you go into the system and change the date or change the scope of the work being done? And then it's up to me now to go and just, yeah, do my little magic, if you like, in the systems and make sure everything goes well. But therefore, teamwork, I would say, it's something that's really important. We're all part, especially when you're part of an organization. It's important to know how to work with others. Advice I would have given myself as a young person: start early on important things. For example, exams and assignments. I used to be somebody that I tend to leave it late, and then I'll have to grind it out at the end. But you see that it just carries unnecessary stress when you do that. So my advice I would have given myself when I was younger is make sure you start early so that you don't have to go through the stress and so that you can actually have time, because you realize when time is short, you tend to make more mistakes. Yeah, so give yourself time, especially when it comes to stuff like revision. Give yourself enough time to revise whatever you need for your exams, in order for it to go to your best ability, I guess. Yeah. So that's definitely the advice I would have given myself as a young person. Right. Advice for building a strong bridge slash tower. Now, I'm not going to go into massive depth about this because bridge engineering and tunnel engineering, those two disciplines are very complex, very complex. Probably I think this told me in uni that it's the hardest part of civil engineering. But since I don't know to what level of technicality you guys are going to go into on this, I can just give you just a quick, if you like, overview. So when it comes to bridges, you have your two ends of the bridge, and then you have the actual bridge part where whatever vehicle is going over it. The most important part will be the center of the bridge. That is going to be the weakest point on the bridge you're going to build. So my advice is make sure that you reinforce the center of the bridge. All right, because what happens is, imagine you're on a flat surface. If you put something in the middle, it will likely go down. Do you get it? Like, it will likely go through the middle because the middle is the least stable part. So make sure that whatever you're using just reinforce the center of the bridge, because that will be your weakest part. All right, so that's my main advice. My main advice to you when you're building your bridge, in order for it to have structural, what's the word? Structural stability. That's the word. To have structural stability, make sure that you reinforce the center of your bridge. All right. Thank you very much.